We begin our report exactly 1 week from Election Day. Already, more than 51 million people have voted early in person and by mail. Polls show the race between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump is razor thin, and the candidates are taking every opportunity to turn out voters. On Tuesday, the vice president delivered what the campaign called her closing argument speech at the Ellipse in Washington. The location is no coincidence. It's the same place where former President Donald Trump spoke on January 6, 2021, telling his supporters the 2020 election was stolen as Congress was working to certify the results. During her speech, Harris said the country needs to unite.
It is time to stop pointing fingers. We have to stop pointing fingers and start locking arms. It is time to turn the page on the drama and the conflict, the fear and division. It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
Meanwhile, the Republican nominee held his fair share of counter-programming Tuesday, including a rally in Allentown, Pennsylvania, in the crucial battleground state worth 19 electoral college votes, where he focused heavily on immigration and again blamed his opponent for issues at the southern border.
Allow millions of people through an open border, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. They come from parts unknown. They come from countries you've never even heard of, and then you find out that they came from jails and mental institutions. No, they cheat like hell, and it's a damn disgrace. So we're going to get it straightened out. We got to get it straightened out.
I want to go ahead and bring in CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes in Washington. Nancy, as I mentioned, the vice president started talking about January 6th. Of course, she's at the Ellipse. Then she talked about the economy, reproductive rights, moved to immigration, to foreign policy, to the more than 75,000 people there in attendance. What stood out to you from the vice president's remarks?
Lindsay, if I had to boil down her message into one sentence, it would be this: Donald Trump is out for himself, and I, Kamala Harris, am looking out for you. On issue after issue, whether it was immigration or the economy or national security, she laid out where she stands, what she wants to do versus what she argues Donald Trump would do if he returned to the White House just over my shoulder. And beyond that, she made the case again and again, I'm sure you heard it, that not only is Donald Trump out for himself, but that he views half of the country as the enemy within, that he would return to the Oval Office with a list of grievances and people who he wanted revenge on, whereas she views the other side as just as American as anyone else, and she wants to extend an olive branch and take their ideas and give them a seat at the table. So this was an attempt to broaden her reach in the final 7 days of the election to appeal to some voters who might be lifelong Republicans, but have trouble with some of the things that Donald Trump has said and done. Wanted to send a message to them. Hey, come on over to this side. You may not agree with everything that I believe in, but I'll be there for you at the end of the day.
And Nancy, some of the top issues for those voters may be the economy and immigration. On the economy, she slammed Trump's policies, including tariffs. She repeated her promises of ending price gouging, speeding up new home building, saying she'd fight for a child tax credit, work to lower the cost of child care, and allow Medicare to cover the cost of home care for seniors. She also said when it comes to immigration that she would work with Congress to pass immigration reform, including an earned path to citizenship for farm workers and dreamers. Are those two messages that you think could resonate and push undecideds over the edge?
Sure, and I think the fact that this was a policy-heavy speech in and of itself, the campaign is hoping will resonate with some voters, particularly voters who are still getting to know her, voters who say, I'm not quite sure what she's all about. She sort of laid out in a similar fashion as a speech that she gave at the Democratic National Convention. Here's what I'm all about, here's what I believe in, here's what I would try to do if I were to be elected. And I think, you know, by focusing on policy, she was, again, trying to create a contrast between herself and some of the things that Donald Trump tends to talk about at the rallies that he has been holding lately. I have to tell you, Lindsay, that the crowd here is so enormous. I heard you say 75,000, and that was news to me because the crowd is so large that the cell signal and Wi-Fi have been completely diluted. I'm in a bit of a news blackout here, and so that was the first I heard, but it really is remarkable. The crowd actually extends beyond the Ellipse onto the National Mall, around the Washington Monument, and all the way up to the Jefferson Monument, which is something I've never seen before.
I thought I saw
outside of a presidential inauguration.
I thought I saw some bystanders around the Washington Memorial in one of our live shots, and that 75,000 count is from the Harris campaign. Nancy Cordes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.